There we go. I like that. I like that. That's mysterious. Fushigi. Dayone? Oh, oops. That's cute, but not what I want. This is too futuristic. I want something that's like walking through like a mysterious forest. This sounds like you just approached like two merchants. And they're like really quirky and weird. Not quite. Ascending into the night sky. Ah. Hello everyone. Hello. This is nice. This is nice and mysterious. Yeah, it sounds a little too ethereal. It's nice. It really sets the atmosphere, but not for the kind of book we're reading though. Maybe if we were reading like some sort of faith-related weird stuff, creepy stuff. Wow. This is intense. This track is called Beckoning. Do you feel like you're being beckoned toward the forest to enter? The forest is calling your name. Fushi.
Welcome to Flea.
Forest. Mori. Anglistria, thank you so much for joining Flea for 14 months. Or rejoin Flea, thank you. Okay, Jisho, tell me. Forest is Mori. Fushigi. Fushigi Mori. Fushigi no Mori. Is this what we're looking for? It's pretty calming. Oh? Oh? Oops. I accidentally tapped into Final Fantasy.
Welcome to Flea.
Like Kenji, thank you for being a member for 21 months. Thank you. 21! That's an insane amount of time. echoed. That's odd. This one's nice. I quite like this one. I'll keep this tab open. What about this one? What was this one again? I just entered like a tavern. It felt like at the beginning of that. This is like going on a battlefield. A battlefield that was like a really old battlefield, and there are still corpses and weapons scattered about, but the entire area is desolate of both lives and vegetation. Stinky battlefield smells bad. Yes, the acid smell of blood. Or maybe even iron, because blood smells like iron. An overwhelming smell of iron from the weapons laying about and from the blood on those weapons. Anyway, not what we're looking for. No beckoning, we don't want that. Okay, what was the other one I had open? Is this mine? Yeah, that's mine. What do you want, stinky butt? You licking my feet? That's too lighthearted. What? I like this one, but not what we're looking for. Like starting a new adventure, it feels like. Embarking on a new journey that will completely change your life while you leave behind the other things in your past life. Cutting off your hair and becoming a new person. It reeks of new adventure. I like it though. I'll be honest, I'm still listening. I really like this actually. Okay, we'll go with this one though. A bit melancholic sounding, but that's fine. Okay, so would you guys prefer reading the last book we started or starting something new? What would you prefer? What is up, Asta? What is wrong, Asta? What is wrong? Which book was that? It was Throne of Mirrors. I think it was called. We started reading it in our last book reading stream, but that got deleted, so we can either start over too, I suppose. Could start over because that stream is long dead. Something new? I wouldn't know what to read that's necessarily new. I do have another book series that I'm in the middle of reading, but since I started Throne of Mirrors, I got the whole book set and I'm like halfway done with it already. Cause I'm currently on the third book of that series. But my dog is begging for attention. He wants to be pet, so I'm petting him. You please want to be pet too, or you want to pet my dog too? You can have either or. I just don't know if Asta will let you pet him. You can try and you can fail. If you get pet, you have to pass it down. He has started chain. Pet, 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 pet. You guys are a little bit too small to be pet. I might like crush you underneath my fingernail. Alright, hold on. Let me go get the book. Don't eat my clothing. Okay. So, how is the audio in comparison to my voice? Let me look at the audio levels. Okay, looks like the background music seems to be at a decently low volume, and my voice is louder than it, so it seems good. Hello everyone, welcome to my book reading stream. Today I'm gonna read a book to you. The book is gonna be called Throne of Glass. We read it last stream, so I'm sorry for everyone who was there, and I'm sorry for everyone who was there and got to hear some of that, but we're gonna be starting over from page 1 today. So this VOD will stay up, and we won't do weird karaoke later on that will get the stream blocked. Is that okay? I hope that's okay. Say yes. Say yes and nod your head. Say yes and nod your head now. Marco, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. I'm not gonna kill this stream. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. I promise. I promise. Alright. First of all, there is ways to pronounce the characters' names in the back of the book. In the back of the book, they so kindly let me they give you like a pronunciation guide. So her name is Selena Sardothian. Her main character's name is Selena Sardothian. Selena Sardothian. Sergey, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. YouTube dollars. Thank you, thank you. Oh, Marco, thank you for the super chat as well. Loving the glasses, super cute. Oh, thank you. Well, yes, I'm reading. I have to look the part, don't I? I'm a what's it called? I'm the old librarian in the back of the library that whenever you approach, like everyone's really scared of her, so like you don't approach her or anything because you're scared that you're gonna bite your head off. But it turns out she's very knowledgeable about really old folklore and stuff. Stinky Nits, thank you so much for the 5 gift memberships. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Selena Sardothian. Selena Sardothian is our main character. Our supporting characters are gonna be Kale Westfall, Dorian Havillard. Havillard.
Welcome to Flea.
Havillard is his last name. Havillard. Huh? Another 5 gift memberships? Thank you. Huh?
Welcome to Flea.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Selena Kardashian. Close but no cigar.
Welcome to Flea.
Thank you. Thank you. Be sure to thank Nitch if you were gifted a sub. Not a sub, a membership. Sorry. My brain not work. Be sure to. Be very nice. What the heck is my dog doing? He's playing with something. Ferret, thank you so much for the 5 gift memberships too. What the heck? Yay, thank you. Thank you. Be sure to thank Ferret as well. Hold on, let me check on my dog. What are you doing? Stop eating shit.
Welcome to Flea.
Stop it.
Welcome to Flea. Welcome to Flea.
Did you hear that? Did you hear me yelling at my dog?
Welcome to Flea.
Like, it's because he was eating my shoe. I knew I heard something. I had to go check. He was being bad. Cucumber! Thank you so much for the gift memberships as well. Thank you. Oh, you guys are so nice to me. What the heck? I haven't even started stream yet. I haven't even started yet. You guys are way too nice. Welcome to Flea, everybody. Welcome. Be sure to thank Cucumber as well. Be nice.
Welcome to Flea.
Alright, Selena Sardothian, Kale Westfall, Dorian Havillard, Nahim Ia, Yetger. Caltain Rompier, R. Robin Himmel, R. Robin,
Welcome to Flea.
Elentia, Ilway, Aurelia, Terrasin, Darlin, Darlin, Ardilin, Endovier, Aniel, Melisand, Wendlin. Okay, I think I'm ready. Are you guys ready? Let's aim to only read for an hour today so that my voice doesn't get too worn out.
Welcome to Flea.
I have water today too. Okay. Let's start a timer. Usually I can read about 100 pages in an hour, but I don't know if I'm reading them out or not. Timer, Google.
Welcome to Flea.
Alright, timer starts now. Okay. After a year of slavery in the salt mines in Endovier,
Welcome to Flea.
Selena Sardothian. Selena Sardothian was accustomed to being escorted everywhere in shackles and at sword point. Well, hold on. music's nice, but it's too loud for me, so let me turn it up for you. Alright, very quiet, very quiet. Just so you can focus on my voice without it there just being dead air in the back. Most of the thousands of slaves in Endovir received similar treatment, though an extra half-dozen guards always walked Selena to and from the mines. That was expected by Ardalin's most notorious assassin. What she did not expect, however, was a hooded man in black at her side, as there was now. He gripped her arm as he led her through the shining building in which most of Endovir's officials and overseers were housed. They strode down corridors, up flights of stairs, and around until she hadn't the slightest chance of finding her way out again. Oh, Curiosity, thank you so much for the $10. Thank you. I don't have Streamlabs open, so let me go ahead and open that. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Oh my god, I've been using the wrong Streamlabs link this whole time. I'm gonna shrivel up and die. What? What does that mean? So what's been happening? What happened? Oh no! Oh no. That's stinky. At least that was her escort's intention, because she hadn't failed to notice when they went up and down the same staircase within a matter of minutes. Nor had she missed when they zigzagged between levels, even though the building was a standard grid of hallways and stairwells. As if she'd lose her bearings that easily. She might have been insulted if he wasn't trying so hard. They entered a particularly long hallway, silent save for their footsteps. Though the man grasping her arm was tall and fit, she could see nothing of the features concealed beneath his hood. Another tactic meant to confuse and intimidate her. The black clothes were probably a part of it too. His head shifted in her direction, and Selena flashed him a grin. He looked forward again, his iron grip tightening. It was flattering, she supposed, even if she didn't know what was happening or why he'd been waiting for her outside the mine shaft. After a day of cleaving rock salt from the innards of the mountain, finding him standing there with 6 guards hadn't improved her mood. But her ears had pricked when he introduced himself to her overseer as Kale Westfall, captain of the Royal Guard, and suddenly the sky loomed, the mountains pushed from behind, and even the earth swelled to her knees. To her knees, not her needs. The Twitch one? Oh, I'm sorry, Curiel. I'm sorry. Even the earth swelled toward her knees. She hadn't tasted fear in a while, hadn't let herself taste fear. When she awoke every morning, she repeated the same words, "I will not be afraid." For a year, those words had meant the difference between breaking and bending. They had kept her from shuddering in the darkness of the mines. Not that she'd let the captain know any of that anyway. Scarlet Denial, thank you so much for joining Flea. Thank you. Selena examined the gloved hand holding her arm. The dark leather almost matched the dirt on her skin. She adjusted her torn and filthy tunic with her free hand and held in her sigh. Entering the mines before sunrise and departing after dusk, she rarely glimpsed the sun. She was frightfully pale beneath the dirt. It was true that she had been attractive once, beautiful even, but, well, it didn't matter now, did it? I want to read the Warrior Cat books to you! I want to read the Warrior Cat books to you! Look, you made me excited now. We should do that! Let's do that! I want to make that a series. I don't know if I'm going to get slapped with copyright, though.
Welcome to Flea.
I don't know if I will be, but I want to do that. Yes, 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 yes. Are the books any good? I loved them when I was in Little Fox School. I absolutely loved them. I adored them. I made them my life. Okay? They were my life when I was in school. Oh, did you guys notice anything different about me today? Huh? You see anything different about me? Go on, take your time. And don't say no, Tog. I swear to God. I will destroy you. Yes, the eyebrows! Yes, 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 the eyebrows. You see them? I asked Twin if she could make my hair a little like translucent so you could see my eyebrows better. So yeah, they're not so like obnoxious either. So you can see my emotions better. So they're not just hiding behind the hair. You like? You like? Uh-huh, uh-huh. My ears move with my eyebrow position. So if it's like up like this, my ears are more straight. Down like this, my ears go to the side more. Easy? Yeah, 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 yeah. Bon Jam, what? Thank you so much for joining Flea. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, continue reading. Continue reading. They turned down another hallway and she studied the stranger's finely crafted sword. Its shimmering pommel was shaped like an eagle mid-flight. Noticing her stare, his gloved hand descended to rest upon its golden head. Another smile tugged at the corners of her lips. Goosebumps! Oh my god, we should read those too! Yes, 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 yes! You're a long way from Rifthold, Captain, she said, clearing her throat. Did you come with the army I heard thumping around earlier? She peered into the darkness beneath his hood, but saw nothing. Still, she felt his eyes upon her face, judging, weighing, testing. She stared right back. The captain of the Royal Guard would be an interesting opponent. Maybe even worthy of some effort on her part. Finally, the man raised his sword hand, and the fold of his cloak fell to conceal the blade. As his cloak shifted, she spied the golden wyvern embroidered on his tunic, the royal seal. "What do you care for the armies of Ardalan?" he replied. How lovely it was to hear a voice like her own, cool and articulate, even if he was a nasty brute. "Nothing," she said, shrugging. He let out a low growl of annoyance. Oh, it'd be nice to see his blood spill across the marble. She'd lost her temper once before. Once. When her first overseer chose the wrong day to push her too hard. She still remembered the feeling of embedding the pickaxe into his gut, and the stickiness of his blood on her hands and face. She could disarm 2 of these guards in a heartbeat. Would the captain fare better than her late overseer? Contemplating the potential outcomes, she grinned at him again. "Don't you look at me like that," he warned, and his hand drifted back to his sword. Helena hid her smirk this time. They passed a series of wooden doors that she had seen a few minutes ago. If she wanted to escape, she simply had to turn left at the next hallway and take the stairs down 3 flights. The only thing all the intended disorientation had accomplished was to familiarize her with the building. Idiots. "Where are we going again?" she asked sweetly, brushing a strand of her matted hair from her face. When he didn't reply, she clenched her jaw. This character sociopath? She's an assassin. So maybe. I mean, she's not entirely mentally healthy, so yeah. Maybe. Yeah, she needs a bath. She's been unbathed for a year in the slave mines. The halls echoed too loudly for her to attack him without alerting the whole building. She hadn't seen where he'd put the key to her irons, and the 6 guards who trailed them would be nuisances, not to mention the shackles. They entered a hallway hung with iron chandeliers. Outside the windows lining the wall, night had fallen. Lanterns kindled so bright they offered few shadows to hide in. From the courtyard, she could hear the other slaves shuffling toward the wooden building where they slept. The moans of agony amongst the clank of chains made a chorus as familiar as the dreary work songs they sang all day. The occasional solo of the whip added to the symphony of brutality Ardalan had created for its greatest criminals, poorest citizens, and latest conquests. We're reading Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. That rhymes. While some of the prisoners were people accused of attempting to practice magic, not that they could, given that magic had vanished from the kingdom, these days more and more rebels arrived at Endovir. Endovir? I think it's Endovir. Most were from, Ilwi, one of the last countries still fighting Ardalan's rule. But when she pestered them for news, many just stared at her with empty eyes, already broken. She shuddered to consider what they endured at the hands of Ardalan forces. Some days, she wondered if they would have been better off on the butchering blocks instead, and if she might have been better off dying that night she'd been betrayed and captured too. But she had other things to think about as they continued their walk. Was she finally to be hanged? Sickness coiled in her stomach. She was important enough to warrant an execution from the captain of the royal guard himself. But why bring her inside this building first? At last, they stopped before a set of red and glass doors so thick that she couldn't see through them. Captain Westfall jerked his chin at the two guards standing on either side of the doors, and they stomped their spears in greeting. Pa, pa. The captain's grip tightened until it hurt. He yanked Selena closer, but her feet seemed made of lead, and she pulled against him. "You'd rather stay in the mines?" he asked, sounding faintly amused. "Perhaps if I were told what this is all about, I wouldn't feel so inclined to resist." "You'll find out soon enough." Her palms became sweaty. Yes, she was going to die. It had come at last. The doors groaned open to reveal a throne room. A glass chandelier shaped like a grapevine occupied most of the ceiling, spitting seeds of diamond fire onto the windows along the far side of the room. Compared to the blackness outside those windows, the opulence felt like a slap to the face. A wonder, a reminder of how much they profited from her labor. And here, the captain of the guard growled and shoved her with his free hand, finally releasing her. Selena stumbled, her calloused feet slipping on the smooth floor as she straightened herself. She looked back to see 6 other guards appear. 14 guards, plus the captain, the gold royal emblem embroidered on the breast of black uniforms. These were members of the royal family's personal guard, ruthless, lightning-swift soldiers trained from birth to protect and kill. She swallowed tightly. He can't contain his silliness. Light-headed and immensely heavy all at once, Selena faced the room. On an ornate redwood throne sat a handsome young man. Her heart stopped as everyone bowed. She was standing in front of the Crown Prince of Ardalan. Chapter 2! Chapter 2! Chapter 2! We're on Chapter 2. Take a sip of water every chapter we pass. Well, it was only like 5 pages. The first chapter is only 5 pages, and this book is very has a lot of liberty with their chapter length. This book is 404 pages. Hello, welcome. Okay. Hold on, I swallowed some air while drinking water, so give me a second. I'm licking the book. I lick the book every time I turn the page. I'm gonna remember to do that. "Your Highness," said the captain of the guard. He straightened from a long from a low bow and removed his hood, revealing close-cropped chestnut hair. The hood had definitely been meant to intimidate her into submission during the walk, as if that sort of trick could work on her. Despite her irritation, she blinked at the sight of his face. He was so young. Captain Westfall was not excessively handsome, but she couldn't help finding the ruggedness of his face and the clarity of his golden brown eyes rather appealing. She cocked her head, and now keenly aware of her wretched dirtiness. "This is she?" the Crown Prince of Ardalan asked, and Selena's head whipped around as the captain nodded. Both of them stared at her, waiting for her to bow. When she remained upright, Kale shifted on his feet, and the prince glanced at his captain before lifting his chin a bit higher. Bow to him indeed. If she were bound for the gallows, she would most certainly not spend the last moments of her life in groveling submission. Would you guys bow if you were about to die to a kingdom that you hated so much, to a kingdom that did nothing but betray and take advantage of you and oh hell yeah. Thundering steps issued from behind her, and someone grabbed her by the neck. Selena only glimpsed crimson cheeks and a sandy mustache before being thrown to the icy marble floor. Pin slammed through her face, light splintering her vision. Her arms ached as her bound hands kept her joints from properly aligning. Though she tried to stop them, tears of pain welled. "That is the proper way to greet your future king," a red-faced man snapped at Selena. The assassin hissed, baring her teeth as she twisted her head to look at the kneeling bastard. He was almost as large as her overseer, clothed in reds and oranges that matched his thinning hair. His obsidian eyes glittered as his grip tightened on her neck. As she could move her right arm just a few inches, she could throw him off balance and grab his sword. The shackles dug into her stomach, and fizzing, boiling rage turned her face scarlet. After a too long moment, the Crown Prince spoke. "I don't quite comprehend why you'd force someone to bow when the purpose of the gesture is to display allegiance and respect." The words were coated with glorious boredom. Selena tried to pivot a free eye to the prince, but could only see a pair of black leather boots against the white floor. "It's clear that you respect me, Duke Parrington, but it's a bit unnecessary to put such effort into forcing Selena Sardothian to have the same opinion. You and I know very well she has no love for my family, so perhaps your intent is to humiliate her?" He paused, and she could have sworn his eyes fell on her face, but I think she's had enough of that. He stopped for another moment, then asked, "Don't you have a meeting with Endovir's treasurer? I wouldn't want you to be late, especially when you came all this way to meet with him." Understanding the dismissal, her tormentor... Oh, I should have... There we go. Her tormentor grunted and released her. Selena peeled her cheek up from the marble, but lay on the floor until he stood and left. If she managed to escape, perhaps she'd hunt down this Duke Parrington fellow and return the warmth of his greeting. As she rose, she frowned at the imprint of grit she left behind on the otherwise spotless floor, and at the clank of her shackles echoing through the silent room. But she'd been trained to be an assassin since the age of 8, since the day the king of the assassins found her half dead in the banks of a frozen river and brought her to his keep. She wouldn't be humiliated by anything, least of all being dirty. Gathering her pride, she tossed her long braid behind her shoulder and lifted her head. Her eyes met those of the prince. My spit is not gonna glue the pages together. There's not that much spit. Dorian Halivard. Have Iliard, I think. Have Iliard. Have Iliard. Oh, it lost my page. Dorian Havillard smiled at her. It was a polished smile, and reeked of court-trained charm. Sprawled across the throne, he had his chin propped by a hand, his golden crown glinting in the soft light. On his black doublet, an emblazoned golden crown. An emblazoned gold rendering of the royal wyvern occupied the entirety of the chest. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling! His red cloak fell gracefully around him and his throne. Yet there was something in his eyes. Strikingly blue, the color of the waters of the southern countries, and the way they contrasted with his raven black hair that made her pause. He was achingly handsome, and couldn't have been older than 20. I want to like draw them, so maybe after we've had our hour of reading, we'll draw the characters. Yet there was something in his eyes. No, I read that. Princes are not supposed to be this handsome. They're sniveling, stupid, repulsive creatures. I read that word out before, but I don't remember how to read it anymore. How unfair of him to be royal and beautiful. She shifted on her feet as he frowned, surveying her in turn. I thought I asked you to clean her, he said to Captain Westfall, who stepped forward. She'd forgotten there was anyone else in this room. She looked at her rags and stained skin and couldn't suppress the twinge of shame. What a miserable state for a girl of former beauty. At a passing glance, one might think her eyes blue or gray, perhaps even green, depending on the color of her clothing. Up close, though, these warring hues were offset by the brilliant ring of gold around her pupils. Ah! My wrist hurts really bad. My wrist hurts really bad today. I can't really use it. My right wrist. Ugh. It hurts. Did I sleep on it wrong? I have no idea. It just hurts really bad. Remove it? Oh, I'll think about it. Ooh. Ow. Yeah, if I just hold the book up with it, it hurts. But right now, it just kind of is throbbing. It's just throbbing right now. Robotic alternatives? That would be kind of sick. I'd be like an android fox then. Wouldn't that be cool? A cyborg fox. And then I could wear armor. I could have armor. His warring hues were offset by the brilliant ring of gold around her pupils. But it was her golden hair that caught the attention of most. Hair that still maintained a glimmer of its glory. In short, Helena Sardothian was blessed with a handful of attractive features that compensated for the majority of average ones, and by early adolescence, she discovered that with the help of cosmetics, these average features could easily match the extraordinary assets. But now, standing before Dorian Havillard, as little more than a gutter rat. Her face warmed as Captain Westfall spoke. I didn't want to keep you waiting. The Crown Prince shook his head when Kale reached for her. Don't bother with the bath just yet. I can see her potential. The prince straightened, keeping his attention on Selena. I don't believe that we've ever had the pleasure of an introduction. But as you probably know, I'm Dorian Havillard, Crown Prince of Ardalan, perhaps now Crown Prince of most of Aurelia. She ignored the surge and crash of bitter emotions that awoke with the name. And you're Selena Sardothian, Ardalan's greatest assassin, perhaps the greatest assassin in all of Aurelia. He studied her tensed body before he raised his dark, well-groomed brows. You seem a little young. He rested his elbows on his thighs. I've heard some rather fascinating stories about you. How do you find Endovir after living in such excess in Rifthold? Arrogant ass. I couldn't be happier, she crooned as her jagged nails cut into her palms. After a year, you seem to be more or less alive. I wonder how that's possible when the average life expectancy in those mines is a month. Quite a mystery, I'm sure. She batted her eyelashes and readjusted her shackles as if they were lace gloves. The Crown Prince turned to his captain. She has somewhat of a tongue, doesn't she? She doesn't sound like a member of the rabble. I should hope not, Selena interjected. Your Highness, Kale Westfall snapped at her. What? Selena asked. You will address him as your Highness. What? Selena gave him a mocking smile and then returned her attention to the prince. Dorian Halivard, to her surprise, laughed. You do know that you're now a slave, don't you? Has your sentence taught you nothing? Had her arms been unshackled, she would have crossed them. I don't see how working in a mine can teach anything beyond how to use a pickaxe. And you never tried to escape? A slow, wicked smile spread across her lips. Once. The prince's brows rose and he turned to Captain Westfall. I wasn't told that. Selena glanced over her shoulder at Kale, who gave his prince an apologetic look. The chief overseer informed me this afternoon that there was one incident. 3 months, 4 months, she interrupted. 4 months, Kale said. After Sardathian arrived, she attempted to flee. She waited for the rest of the story, but he was clearly finished. That's not even the best part. There's a best part? The Crown Prince said, face caught between a wince and a smile. Kale glared at her before speaking. There's no hope of escaping from I have my legs crisscross applesauce in my chair, and I had it resting against my desk, and I finally put enough pressure on it to push myself back. Sorry, I slid backwards. Okay. There's no hope of escaping from Endovir. Your father made sure that each of Endovir's sentries could shoot a squirrel from 200 paces away. To attempt to flee is suicide. But you're alive, the prince said to her. Selena's smile faded as the memory struck her. Yes. What happened? Dorian asked. Are my eyes closed when I'm reading? I don't think so, right? Do they look down? They're not closed, are they? No, they're not. No? Okay. Okay, good. Good. Very good. Good. Oh, my waist. Ah! Her eyes turned cold and hard. I snapped. That's all you have to offer as an explanation for what you did? Captain Westfall demanded. She killed her overseer and 23 sentries before they caught her. She was a finger's tip from the wall before the guards knocked her unconscious. So? Dorian said. Selena seethed. So? Do you know how far the wall is from the mines? He gave her a blank look. She closed her eyes and sighed dramatically. From my shaft, it was 363 feet. I had someone measure. So? Dorian repeated. Captain Westfall, how far do slaves make it from the mines when they try to escape? 3 feet, he muttered. Endovir sentries usually shoot a man down before he's moved 3 feet. The Crown Prince's silence was not her desired effect. You knew it was suicide, he said at last, the amusement gone. Perhaps it had been a bad idea for her to bring up the wall. Yes, she said, but they didn't kill you. Your father ordered that I was to be kept alive for as long as possible, to endure the misery that Endovir gives in abundance. A chill that had nothing to do with the temperature went through her. I never intended to escape. The pity in her eyes made her want to hit him. Do you bear many scars? He asked this prince. He shrugged and he smiled, forcing the mood to lift as he stepped from the dais. The dais? The dais. Turn around. Let me view your back. Selena frowned but obeyed as he walked to her, Kale stepping closer. I can't make them out. That. Clearly, through all this dirt, the prince said, inspecting what skin showed through the scraps of her shirt. She scowled, and scowled even more when he said, and what a terrible stench too! When one doesn't have access to a bath and perfume, I suppose one can't smell as finely as you, your highness. The crown prince clicked his tongue and circled her slowly. Kale and all the guards watched him with hands on their swords, as they should. In less than a second, she could get her arms around the prince's head and have her shackles crushing his windpipe. It might be worth it just to see the expression on Kale's face. But the prince went on, oblivious to how dangerously close he stood to her. Perhaps you should be insulted. From what I can see, he said, there are 3 large scars, and perhaps even smaller ones. Not as awful as I expected, but, well, the dresses can cover it, I suppose. Dresses? He was standing so near that she could see the fine thread detail on his jacket, and smelled not perfume but horses and iron. Dorian grinned. What remarkable eyes you have, and how angry you are. Coming within strangling distance of the Crown Prince of Ardalan, son of the man who sentenced her to a slow, miserable death, her self-control balanced on a fragile edge, dancing along a cliff. I demand to know, she began, but the captain of the guard pulled her back from the prince with spine-snapping force. I wasn't going to kill him, you buffoon. Watch your mouth before I throw you back in the mines, the brown-eyed captain said. Oh, I don't think you'd do that. And why is that? Kale replied. Dorian strode to his throne and sat down, his sapphire eyes bright. She looked from one man to another and squared her shoulders. Because there's something you want from me, something you want badly enough to come here yourselves. I'm not an idiot, though I was foolish enough to be captured, and I can see that this is some sort of secret business. Why else would you leave the capital and venture this far? You've been testing me all this time to see if I'm physically and mentally sound. Well, I know that I'm still sane, and that I'm not broken, despite what the incident at the wall might suggest. So I demand to be told why you're here, and what services you wish of me if I'm not destined for the gallows. The men exchanged glances. Dorian steepled his fingers. I have a proposition for you. Her chest tightened. Never, not in her most fanciful dreams, had she imagined the opportunity to speak with Dorian Halivard would arise. She could kill him so easily, tear that grin from his face. She could destroy the king as he had destroyed her. But perhaps his proposition could lead to escape. She got beyond the wall, she could make it. Run and disappear into the mountains and live in solitude in the dark green of the wild. With a pine-needled carpet and a blanket of stars overhead, she could do it. She just needed to clear that wall. She had come so close before. I'm listening, was all she said. Okay, we're on chapter 3 now. Chapter 3! Bing bong, bing bong, bing bong. To hydrate my vocal cords. What do you guys think so far? We're only on chapter 3, of course, but what do you think? Do you not care about the story and just want me to read to you? I mean, it's about sleepy time, so I hope some of you are going to sleep. I'm keeping my pipes wet. Nice and slippery. Nice and slippery. We don't want no tight pipes. Zonderman, thank you so much for the super chat. Since you mentioned warrior cats, what is your cat name? Meow. I want to be... should I be an apprentice or a warrior? I think, what should my first name be? Not fire. Because we already follow fire. Firestar. Ice. What do I like? What do I like in... What would I be named after? My tail is really fluffy. Ah, I don't know. Stinky. Stinky tail. Stinky tail. Stinky tail is my warrior cat name. Stinky tail. What do you think of that? That sounds like people would stay away from me. People would be like weirded out by me. Why am I always the weird person in the back of the tavern? Or like the weird uncle that no one talks to, but rocks back and forth on the rocking chair, like mumbling to himself. Stinktail sounds more like a skunk. Yeah, maybe I wouldn't be like a warrior cat, I'd just be a skunk. I don't even look like a skunk though. Be nice to me. It's my pheromones, exactly, it's my pheromones. It's my pheromones that make me smell this way, okay? I smell good. I smell good. Okay. We're in chapter 3. Pay attention. Class, pay attention, pay attention. There'll be a test on this before the end of stream. Just kidding. The prince's eyes shone with amusement as her brashness but lingered a bit too long in her body. Selena could have raked her nails down his face for staring at her like that, yet the fact that he'd even bothered to look when she was in such a filthy state. A slow smile spread across her face. The prince crossed his long legs. "Leave us," he ordered the guards. "Kale, stay where you are." Selena stepped closer to the guards shuffling out, shutting the door. Foolish, foolish move. But Kale's face remained unreadable. He couldn't honestly believe he'd contain her if she tried to escape. She straightened her spine. What were they planning that would make them so irresponsible? The prince chuckled. "Don't you think it's risky to be so bold with me when your freedom is on the line?" Of all the things he could have said, that was what she had least expected. My freedom? At the sound of the word, she saw a land of pine and snow, of sun-bleached cliffs and white-capped seas, a land where light was swallowed in the velvety green of bumps and hollows, a land she had forgotten. "Yes, your freedom. So I highly suggest, Miss Ardothian, that you get your arrogance in check before you end up back in the mines." The prince uncrossed his legs. "Though perhaps your attitude will be useful. I'm not going to pretend that my father's empire was built on trust and understanding, but you already know that." His fingers curled as she waited for him to continue. His eyes met hers, probing intent. "My father has gotten it into his head that he needs a champion." It took a delicious moment for her to understand. Selena tipped her head back and laughed. "Your father wants me to be his champion? What? Don't tell me that he's managed to eliminate every noble soul out there. Surely there's one chivalrous... chivalrous... I can't say that word! I can't say that word! I can't say that... one lord of steadfast heart and courage." "Mind your mouth," Kale warned from beside her. "What about you, she said, raising her brows at the captain. Oh, it was too funny. Her, the king's champion. Our beloved king finds you lacking." The captain put a hand on his sword. "If you'd be quiet, you'd hear the rest of what His Highness has to tell you." She faced the prince. "Well, I'm waiting." Dorian leaned back in his throne. "My father needs someone to aid the Empire, someone to help him maneuver around difficult people." "You mean he needs a lackey for his dirty work?" "If you wanted to put it that bluntly, then yes," the prince said. "His champion would Keep his opponent quiet. As quiet as the grave, she said sweetly. A smile tugged at Dorian's lips, but he kept his face straight. Yes. To work for the King of Ardalan as his royal servant, she raised her chin to kill for him. Oh, this is not readable like this. To be a fang in the mouth of a beast that had already consumed half of Aurelia. And if I accept, then after 6 years, he'll grant you your freedom. 6 years! But the word freedom echoed through her once more. If you decline, Dorian said, anticipating her next question, you'll remain in Endovir. His sapphire eyes became hard, and she swallowed. And die here, but he didn't add. Why you too cute though? So when my mommy met my daddy and they decided they wanted to have babies, they didn't decide they wanted to have me, and I was a mistake, and I popped out and they're like, oh god. And so I was made, and that's why I'm so cute, because mistakes are cute. Isn't that true? 6 years as the king's crooked dagger, or a lifetime in Endovir. However, the prince said, there's a catch. She kept her face neutral as he toyed with the ring on his finger. The position isn't being offered to you yet. My father thought to have a bit of fun. He's hosting a competition. He invited 23 members of his council to each sponsor a would-be champion to train in the glass castle and ultimately compete in a duel. Were you to win, he said with a half-smile, you'd officially be Ardalan's assassin. She didn't return the smile. Who exactly are my competitors? Seeing her expression, the prince's grin faded. Thieves and assassins and warriors from across Aurelia. She opened her mouth, but he cut her off. If you win, and prove yourself both skilled and trustworthy, my father has sworn to grant you your freedom, and, while you're his champion, you'll receive a considerable salary. She barely heard his last few words. A competition! Against some nobody men from God's nowhere, and assassins? What other assassins? She demanded. None that I've heard of. None as famous as you. And that reminds me, you won't be competing as Selena Sardathian. What? You'll compete under an alias. I don't suppose you heard about what happened after your trial. News is rather hard to come by when you're slaving in a mine. Dorian chuckled, shaking his head. No one knows that Selena Sardathian was just a young woman. They all thought you were far older. What? She asked again, her face flushing. How is that possible? She should be proud that she kept it hidden from most of the world, but you kept your identity a secret all the years you were running around killing everyone. After your trial, my father thought it would be wise not to inform Aurelia who you are. He wants to keep it that way. What would our enemies say if we knew we'd all been petrified of a girl? Stinky, Stinky, you're scared of a girl. A girl. Girl. So I'm slaving in this miserable place for a name and title that doesn't even belong to me? Who does everyone think Ardalan's assassin really is? I don't know, nor do I entirely care. But I do know that you are the best, and that people still whisper when they mention your name. He fixed her with a stare. If you're willing to fight for me, to be my champion during the months the competition will go on, I'll see to it that my father frees you after 5 years. Though he tried to conceal it, she could see the tension in his body. He wanted her to say yes. Needed her to say yes so badly. He was willing to bargain with her. Her eyes began glittering. What do you mean, we're the best? You've been in Endovia for a year. Who knows what you're still capable of? I'm capable of quite a lot, thank you, she said, picking at her jagged nails. She tried not to cringe at all the dirt beneath them. When was the last time her hands had been clean? That remains to be seen, Dorian said. They'll be told the details of the competition when we arrive in Rifthold. Despite the amount of fun you nobles will have betting on us, this competition seems unnecessary. Why not hire me already? As I just said, You must prove yourself worthy. He put a hand on her hip and her chains rattled loudly through the room. Well, I think being Ardalin's assassin exceeds any sort of proof you might need. Yes, Kale said, his bronze eyes flashing. It proves that you're a criminal, and that we shouldn't immediately trust you with the king's private business. I give my solemn... Oh, I doubt the king would take the word of Ardalin's assassin as bond. Yes, but I don't see why I have to go through the training and competition. I mean, I'm bound to be a bit out of shape, but what else do you expect when I have to make do with rocks and pickaxes in this place? She gave Kale a spiteful glance. Dorian frowned. So you won't take the offer? Of course I'm going to take the offer, she snapped. Her wrists chafed against her shackles badly enough that her eyes watered. I'll be your absurd champion if you agree to free me in 3 years, not 5. 4. Fine, she said. It's a bargain. I might be trading one form of slavery for another, but I'm not a fool. She could win back her freedom. Freedom! Freedom! She felt the cold air of the wide open world, the breeze that swept from the mountains and carried her away. She could live far from Rifthold, the capital that had once been her realm. Hopefully you're right, Dorian replied, and hopefully you'll live up to your reputation. I anticipate winning, and I won't be pleased if you make me look foolish. And what if I lose? The gleam vanished from his eyes as he said, You'll be sent back here to serve out the remainder of your sentence. Selena's lovely visions exploded like dust from a slammed book. Then I might as well leap from the window. A year in this place has worn me through. Imagine what will happen if I return. I'd be dead by my 2nd year. She tossed her head. Your offer seems fair enough. Fair enough indeed, Dorian said and waved a hand at Kale. Take her to the rooms and clean her up. He fixed her with a stare. We depart for Rifthold in the morning. Don't disappoint me, Sardothian. It was nonsense, of course. How difficult could it be to outshine, outsmart, and then obliterate her competitors? She didn't smile, for she knew that if she did, it would open her to a realm of hope that had long been closed. But still, she felt like seizing the prince and dancing. She tried to think of music, tried to think of a celebratory tune, but could only recall a solitary line from the mournful bellowing of the Ilwi work songs, deep and slow, like honey poured from a jar. And to go home at last. She didn't notice when Captain Westfall led her away, nor did she notice when they walked down hall after hall. Yes, she would go to Rifthold, to anywhere, even through the gates of the Word and into hell itself if it meant freedom. After all, you aren't Ardalin's assassin for nothing. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. Take a sip of water. Maybe a couple sips of water. Maybe a couple more. I'm almost out of water. How many pages are we in now? We're on page 20. We're on page 20. When Selena finally collapsed onto a bed after her meeting in the throne room, she couldn't fall asleep, despite the exhaustion in every inch of her body. After being roughly bathed by brutish servants, the wounds on her back throbbed and her face felt like it had been scrubbed to the bone. Shifting to lie on her side to ease the pain in her dressed and bound back, she ran her hand down the mattress and blinked at the freeness of movement. Before she'd gotten into the bath, Kale had removed her shackles. He felt everything, the reverberations of the key turning in the lock of her irons, then again as I loosened and fell to the floor. She could still feel the ghost chains hovering just above her skin. Looking up at the ceiling, she rotated her raw, burning joints and gave a sigh of contentment. But it was too strange to lie on the mattress, to have silk caress her skin and a pillow cradled her back. She had forgotten what food other than soggy oats and hard bread tasted like, what a clean body and clothes could do to a person. Now it was utterly foreign. Though her dinner hadn't been that wonderful, not only was the roast chicken unimpressive, but after a few forkfuls, she dashed into the bathroom to deposit the contents of her stomach. She wanted to eat, to put a hand to a swollen belly, to wish that she'd never eaten a morsel and swear that she'd never eat again. She'd eat well and rifthold, wouldn't she? And more importantly, her stomach would adjust. She'd wasted away to nothing. Beneath her nightgown, her ribs reached out from inside of her, showing bones where flesh and meat should have been. And her breasts, once well formed, now were no larger than Once well formed, they were now no larger than they'd been in the midst of puberty. A lump clogged her throat, which she promptly swallowed down. The softness of her mattress smothered her, and she shifted again, lying on her back, despite the pain it gave her. Oh, sob. Her face hadn't been much better when she glimpsed it in the washroom mirror. It was haggard. Her cheekbones were sharp, her jaw pronounced, and her eyes slightly, but ever so disturbingly sunken in. She took steadying breaths, savoring the hope. She'd eat a lot and exercise. She could be healthy again. Imagining outrageous feasts and regaining her former glory, she finally fell asleep. When Kayla came to fetch her on the next morning, he found her sleeping on the floor, wrapped in a blanket. "Sir Dothian," he said. She made a mumbling noise, burying her face further into the pillow. "Farther." "Why are you sleeping on the ground?" She opened an eye. Of course, he didn't mention how different she looked now that she was clean. She didn't bother concealing herself with the blanket as he stood. The yards of fabric they called a nightgown had covered her enough. "The bed was uncomfortable," she said simply, but quickly forgot the captain as she beheld the sunlight. Pure, fresh, warm sunlight. Sunlight that could bask in day after day as she got her freedom. Sunlight to drown out the endless dark of the mines. It leaked in through the heavy drapes, smearing itself across the room in thick lines. Gingerly, Selena stretched out a hand. Her hand was pale, almost skeletal, but there was something about it, something beyond the bruises and cuts and scars, that seemed beautiful and new in the morning light. She ran to the window and nearly ripped the curtains from their hangings as she opened them to the grey mountains and bleakness of Endovier. The guards positioned beneath the window didn't glance upward, and she gaped at the bluish grey sky, at the clouds slipping on their shoes and shuffling towards the horizon. "I will not be afraid." For the first time in a while, those words felt true. Her lips peeled back in a smile. The captain raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. She was cheerful, jubilant, really, and her mood improved when the servants coiled her braided hair onto the back of her head and dressed her in surprisingly fine riding habit that concealed her miserably thin form. She loved clothes, loved the feeling of silk, of velvet, of satin, of suede and chiffon? I know that fabric, but I don't know how to say it. Chiffon. How do you pronounce? Chiffon.
Chiffon.
It's chiffon. And was fascinated by the grace of seams, the intricate perfection of an embossed surface. And when she won this ridiculous competition, when she was free, she could buy all the clothes she wanted. She laughed when Kale, irked at how Selena stood in front of the mirror for 5 minutes, admiring herself, half dragged her out of the room. The budding sky made her want to dance and skip down the halls before they entered the main yard. However, she faltered as she beheld the mounds of bone-colored rock at the far end of the compound, and the small figures going in and out of the many mouth-like holes cut into the mountain. Work had already begun for the day, work that would continue without her when she left them all to this miserable fate. Her stomach clenching, Selena averted her eyes from the prisoners, keeping up with the captain as they headed to the caravan of horses toward the towering wall. Yapping filled the air, and 3 black dogs sprinted from the center of the caravan to greet them. They were each sleek as arrows, undoubtedly from the Crown Prince's kennels. She knelt on one knee, her bound wounds protesting as she cupped their heads and stroked their smooth hair. She licked. They licked her fingers and face, their tails swishing the ground like whips. A pair of ebony boots stopped before her, and the dogs immediately calmed and sat. Selena lifted her gaze to find the sapphire eyes of the Crown Prince of Ardalan studying her face. He smiled slightly. "How unusual for them to notice you," he said, scratching one of the dogs behind the ears. "Did you give them food?" She shook her head as the captain stepped behind her, so close that his knees grazed the folds of her forest green velvet cape. It would take all of 2 movements to disarm him. "Are you fond of dogs?" Dogs? "Of dogs," asked the prince. She nodded. "Why was it already so hot? Am I going to be blessed with the pleasure of hearing your voice, or have you resolved to be silent for the duration of the journey?" "I'm afraid your questions don't merit a verbal response." Dorian bowed low. "Then I apologize, my lady. How terrible it must be to condescend to answer. Next time, I'll try to think of something more stimulating to say." With that, he turned on his heel and strode away, his dogs trailing after him. She scowled as she stood, her frown deepened when she discovered the captain of the guard smirking as they walked into the fray of readying company. However, the unbearable urge to splatter someone across the wall lessened when they brought her a piebald mare to ride. She mounted. The sky came closer and it stretched forever. It stretched forever above her. Away and away to distant lands she'd never heard of. Selena gripped the saddle horn. She was truly leaving Endovir. All those hopeless months, those freezing nights, gone now. She breathed in deeply. She just knew, that if she tried hard enough, she could fly from her saddle. Puppy? That is, until she felt iron clamp around her arms. It was Kale, fastening her... What? Got something to say? Don't interrupt me. I'm reading. A long chain led to his horse, where it disappeared beneath the saddlebags. He mounted his black stallion, and she considered leaping from her horse and using the chain to hang him from the nearest tree. It was a rather large company, 20 altogether. Behind 2 imperial flag-bearing guards rode the Prince and Duke Parrington. Then came a band of 6 royal guards, dull and bland as porridge, but still trained to protect him from her. She clanked her chains against her saddle and flicked her eyes to Kale. He didn't react. The sun rose higher. After one last inspection of their supplies, they left. With most of the slaves working the mines and only a few toiling inside the ramshackle of refining sheds, the giant yard was almost deserted. The wall suddenly loomed, and her blood throbbed in her veins. The last time she'd been this close to the wall. The crack of the whip sounded, followed by a scream. Selena looked over her shoulder, past the guards and the supplies wagon, the near-empty yard. None of the slaves would ever leave here, even when they died. Each week, they dug new mass graves behind the refining sheds, and each week, those graves filled up. She became all too aware of the 3 long scars down her back. Even if she won her freedom, even if she lived in peace in the countryside, those scars would always remind her of what she endured, and that even if she was free, others were not. Selena faced forward, pushing those thoughts from her mind as she entered the passage through the wall. The interior was thick, almost smoky and damp. The sound of horses echoed like rolling thunder. The iron gates opened and she glimpsed the wicked names of the mine before it split in 2 and swung open. And swung wide! Within a few heartbeats, the gates groaned shut behind them. Okay, I get it. Within a few heartbeats, the gates groaned shut behind them. She was out. That's an okay stopping point, I suppose. Ah, that scared me! That was my timer. We read for an hour. We can read to the next chapter. Let's read to the next chapter. She shifted her hands in her shackles, watching the chain sway and clank between her and the captain of the guard. It was attached to his saddle, which was cinched around his horse, which, when they stopped, could be subtly unbridled, just enough so that with a fierce tug from her end, the chain would rip the saddle off the beast, he'd tumble to the ground, and she sensed Captain Westfall's attention. He stared at her beneath lowered brows, his lips tightly pursed. Bleh! And she shrugged as she dropped the chain. Oh my goodness! As the morning wore on, the sky became a crisp blue with hardly a cloud. Taking the forest road, they swiftly passed from the mountainous wasteland of Endovier into the fairer country. By mid-morning, they were within oak-walled forest, the forest that surrounded Endovier and served as a continental divide between the civilized countries of the east and the uncharted lands of the west. Legends were still told of the strange and deadly people who dwelt there, the cruel and bloodthirsty descendants of the fallen witch kingdom. Selena had once met a young woman from that cursed land, and though she just turned out to be cruel and bloodthirsty, she was still just a human, and she had still blood like one. After hours of silence, Selena turned to Kale. Rumor has it that once the king is finished with his war against Wendelin, he'll begin colonizing the west. She said it casually, but hoped he'd confirm or deny. The more she knew of the king's current position and maneuverings, the better. The captain surveyed her up and down and frowned, and then looked away. I agree, she said, sighing loudly. The fate of those empty, wide plains and those miserable mountain regions seemed dull to me as well. His jaw tightened as he clamped his teeth. Do you intend to ignore me forever? Captain Westfall's brows rose. I didn't know I was ignoring you. She pursed her lips, checking her irritation. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction. How old are you? 22. So young! She batted her eyelashes, watching him for some kind of response. It only took a few years to climb the ranks. He nodded. And how old are you? 18. But he said nothing. I know, she continued. It is impressive that I accomplished so much at an early age. Crime isn't an accomplishment, Sardothian. Yes, but becoming the world's most famous assassin is. He didn't respond. You might ask me how I did it. Did what? He said tightly. Become so talented and famous so quickly? I don't want to hear about it. Those weren't the words she wanted to hear. You're not very kind, she said through her teeth. If she were going to get under his skin, she'd have to push a lot harder. You're a criminal. I'm captain of the Royal Guard. I'm not obligated to bestow any kindness or conversation upon you. Be grateful we don't keep you locked up in the wagon. Yes, well, I'd wager that you're rather unpleasant to talk to even when you're bestowing kindness upon others. When he failed to respond again, Selena couldn't help but feel a bit foolish. A few minutes passed. And are you and the Crown Prince close friends? My personal life is none of your concern. She clicked her tongue. How well born are you? Well enough. His chin lifted almost imperceptibly higher. Imperceptibly? Duke? No. Lord? He didn't reply, and she smiled slowly. Lord Kale Westfall. She fanned herself with a hand. How the court ladies must fawn over you. Don't call me that. I'm not given the title of a lord, he said quietly. You have an older brother? No. Then why don't you bear the title? Again, no response. She knew she should stop prying, but she couldn't help it. A scandal? A deprived birthright? And what sort of messy intrigue are you involved? His lips squeezed together so tightly they turned white. She leaned toward him. Do you find that? Shall I gag you? Are you capable of being silent without my assistance? She stared ahead at the crown prince, his face blank again. She tried not to laugh when he grimaced as she began speaking again. Are you married? No! He picked at her nails. I'm not married either. His nostrils flared. How old were you when you became captain of the guard? He gripped the reins of his horse. 20. The party halted in a clearing and the soldiers dismounted. She faced Kale, who swung a leg over his horse. Why have we stopped? Kale unhooked the chain from his saddle and gave it a firm yank, motioning her to dismount. Lunch, he said. Okay, chapter 15. That's a good stopping point. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Did you like it? Did you like it? Like a mouth gag? Yeah, he wants her to shut up. He wanted her to shut up, so he was gonna put cloth in her mouth or something. It's not that lewd. He doesn't like her at all. They seem to butt heads. We're in chapter 5. Did I say 13? I meant 5. We're in chapter 5. We'll stop there for now. The ball gag device? Do you really think Kale and Selena are gonna engage in BDSM after meeting each other for a day? E? So, in this story, 2 men fall in love with Selena. Who do you think she ends up with? Who do you think she ends up with? You've already been introduced to both of the men that are going to be infatuated with her. Me? At least one of them? The one with the biggest hands, so what? Kale? The captain of the guard? It's either Dorian or Kale. Pick! Who do you think she's gonna end up with? Bo, she starts a harem? The piebald. The horse? She ends up being with the horse? Monka? I don't know what's happening in this story. Were you not paying attention? So, TLDR, we didn't care to pay attention. The king of Ardalan wants a competition for someone to become the king's champion. The king's champion is basically someone who will go out and kill his enemies. And the king of Ardalan's son, Dorian, has seeked out Selena Sardathian, who is the best assassin in all of Ardalan. He wants Selena to compete in the competition to become the king's champion, in which she will win her freedom. Another question: does Selena, do anything? Or is this story of what those 2 guys do for her? No, this story is mainly about her. I'm on the 3rd book of the series. Yeah, I'm on the 3rd book of the series, and it's really just about her. She does do stuff, but I don't think, I think in this book, we'll probably see that they don't really do much for her. Not very good if she got caught. Well, you're gonna figure out why she got caught. I'm not gonna tell you. I know, I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna tell you. You're gonna get big boob after this story? I don't know. They never mentioned her booba again. I wouldn't know. I want her to do sneaky, smart assassin things. She does do that. Maybe not so much in this book, but in the next book she does. Because In this book, it's mostly just the tournament arc. She's not petite, she's starving. She's malnourished. She's not petite, she's malnourished. Will she unlock Ultra Instinct? I'm not gonna give any more of an answer besides yes. Yes, she does. Will she discombobulate people? Yes. Yes, she will. In really gruesome ways. Choosing assassins via direct combat and tournament? Yes. They're basically like supposed to all go against each other in the end, like duel. So that like they prove themselves worthy to the king. Prove their capabilities. Does she die? I don't know. I haven't finished the book series. I don't know. I don't know if she dies. Malnourishment to this extent requires weeks to months of retraining. Yes. Yes, it does. And we will go through that together. Do I die? Maybe. You might be immortal. I don't know. You tell us. It seems strange they do direct combat with like assassins are supposed to be sneaky and stealthy and stuff. Maybe that's just my opinion. Well, they're more training their physical capabilities instead of like stealth and stuff. Cause stealth and like having good physical capabilities go hand in hand. Cause like if you're sneaking about, you have to control like how much weight you put into your footsteps, right? So it'd be kind of like that. Assassins are supposed to be good at fighting too, though, right? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, there's like a bunch of different stuff they go over in the tournament. I personally think this book is the worst out of all of them that I've read in the series. Because this is just like an exposition dump for the better things that come on. But I still like it. It's still a good read if you don't know what's coming. You know? Hisoka? Why did she become Hisoka? Chose to read the worst to us? This is the first book of the series. It's not that I chose to read the worst to you. It's the first book. If I started reading where I am in the book, you wouldn't understand anything. You wouldn't see her character development that she has to go through, all of the traumas unraveling before her. It would mean nothing to you. It's not that I chose the worst one for you. Hi, Ariru. Hi, whoa. The prequel Assassin's Blade was quite good. Oh, I want to read that one too. But I saw that one came out like in 2014, and I want to read the books and the timeline they were released in like the real world. So that's how I want to read them. Quit talking about her body, you freaks. You sick freak. You did enjoy it though? That's good, that's good. I want to have like the text on screen so that you guys can see how it's all spelled instead of me just talking. I wish I could do that. You're silly. You're silly. You're so pretty though. You're pretty. You're pretty though. Pretty though. Oh. Will she own an amazing cat? She will have a pet, but it's not a cat. What is the legality of that? Probably very illegal. Yes, good boy. Give me this. I don't have food. What are you begging for? Why is your head on my lap? I have no food here. Do my hands smell like food? No, they don't. There's no food here. I'm sorry. You already had your num-nums for today. Okay. I'm giving him attention. What? One kiss? Good boy. Yes, you give good kiss. Yes. Yes, Bubble Dong. Alright, that'll be it for this stream, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Otsukana. Otsukana. We'll stream again on Thursday. Tomorrow, I have I'm gonna go to a nail appointment for the first time in many, many years. Wish me luck. I hope they don't destroy my fingers. Bye bye. Bye everyone. Bye bye. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you. See ya. See ya.